Good evening, everyone. Good evening. We are live. Welcome back. And thank you to you, and you. Because there's only a few of you right now that's watching, but I appreciate the few as we're starting this channel out. Thank y'all for watching, whether it's live or later on. Thank you for joining joining this stream and watching us live. This is Timeouts and Tangents, and I am your host, AP. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the Portal King, Lane Kiffin. He is coming January 2nd. See, originally we were supposed to go live last night, but to be honest, I'm not going to lie, I was tired. I'm trying to figure out the best streaming schedule. And then the Frank Wilson news broke, and I wanted to touch on Frank Wilson last night anyway, so we're going to touch on him again tonight. And then we're going to talk about the LSU brand and why the brand of LSU is always the most important thing for everything, and why that brand paired with Lane Kiffin is just a match made in heaven. But Lane Kiffin himself, the self proclaimed Portal King, is sitting atop the throne of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He is the leader of the LSU Tigers. And it is a perfect time for him to be the man in charge. LSU for itself is in desperate need of a quarterback, in desperate need of an identity on offense, and is in desperate need to have the right person in charge for this changing of the guard. And Lane Kiffin is that person. Kiffin comes to Baton Rouge at the perfect time. Comes at the perfect time to Baton Rouge. And it's also why I'm not concerned with whomever we may end up with at quarterback. It's because of Lane Kiffin. Now, look, LSU is going to need a lot in the portal. So it is absolutely fantastic that Kiffin is the guy to be at the helm of this ship right now. Because you're going to have to add about 13 to 15 players. We're going to need O linemen, D linemen, safeties, corners. We're going to get into a little bit of that in a second. But you can't start anything unless you have the right man receiving the snaps. We used to say the right man under center, but it's the right man receiving the snaps. And when it comes to finding the right quarterback, for most coaches, that is a very pivotal piece. But for Lane Kiffin, it's not. From what I can tell from the quarterbacks that Lane Kiffin has led, his primary concern is one, that they make the right play and that they don't turn over the ball. So I'm not concerned whether we get DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola, that we have to have Sam Levitt. It's not a have to. It's whoever Lane Kiffin feels is the right person to run his offense. And we are still waiting to see if Trinidad Chambliss will be able to get that extra year, get his waiver approved. And if he does, then he's got to be the person that you go after. But we're in a position where we need two, maybe even three quarterbacks. So can you, you know, get a DJ Lagway to pull a Dante Moore, where you get Trinidad to come in and be the starter year one. You get DJ Lagway to come in and take a red shirt so he can sit down, let his body heal, adjust to the growth that his body's taking place over such a short amount of time, and then roll as the heir apparent, like what Dante Moore did at Oregon behind Dylan Gabriel. It was unprecedented for Oregon to get two quarterbacks, but it was a smart move. Dylan Gabriel came to Oregon fresh off of an amazing season at Oklahoma, balled out at Oregon, but they took Dante Moore, redshirted him after starting 9 games, I believe, at UCLA. And that 1 year gave him an opportunity to process everything. And now, as his first year starting, now he's going into the draft as one of the top selections in the 2026 draft in April. Can we get DJ Lago to do the same thing at LSU? It's an intriguing thought. But as far as who the starter is for LSU, I'm not concerned. And we shouldn't be, because Lane Kiffin is at the helm of the ship. He is our coach now. And when you look at the quarterbacks he's had, he's turned them into subdues. Of course, you look at Trinidad in the year he just had. I mean, he started 9 out of 11 games. The overall team record is 11-1. As a starter, he was 9-1. He finished with 3,016 yards, 24 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. That's amazing for a kid that was at Ferris State, Division II school. To not just come to the FBS, but to come into the SEC and dominate. But then when you go to his predecessor, you look at Jackson Dart. A lot of us tend to forget that Jackson Dart was with Lane Kiffin for 3 years. He transferred to Ole Miss after starting as a freshman at USC for a few games after Clay Helton got fired. Lane pulled him in from USC after he started for 6 games. He threw for 1,300 yards, just over 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. But once he got to Ole Miss, the Portal King went to work. And every single year, Jackson Dart got better. His first year under Lane, he threw for just under 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Year 2, he jumped to 3,364, 3,364 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. And then in his last season, he threw for 4,200 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 6 picks. But it's not the growth in yardage. He made leaps in completion percentages. Y'all, my dude went from 61% to 62% to 65% to 69% completion percentage. Every year he got better. Even when Lane was at FAU, he had Chris Robertson. And in his career with Lane, Chris Robinson was a 62% completion percentage passer, threw for 6,200 total yards, 40 touchdowns, and 18 picks. In his second season with Lane Kiffin, he threw for 3,700 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 6 picks. And then don't forget, as the OC in Bama, he had Blake Sims balling out. Blake Sims, a former running back. Jake Coker was balling out. Then he had true freshman Jalen Hurts balling out. I don't care who LSU gets as a quarterback. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Because when you can take a former Division II starter, get him into the SEC and make him comfortable, and not only comfortable, to what should have been a Heisman campaign. He should have been invited to New York. When you can do that, and then you produce a former first round draft pick at a quarterback, and then the previous quarterbacks you had who are not playing in the league outside of Jalen Hurts were all really good. They weren't the weak point, but the biggest thing was they were not turning over the ball. So I'm not worried about it. Lane Kiffin is going to be okay. LSU is going to be okay. We just got to trust in the man who's been doing this for 25, 30 years at this point. He was born into this. So trust him. Don't put so much stock in a name. We have the name. His name is Lane. I'm not trying to rhyme at all. Like, I'm not a rapper by any means. Please don't take that as that. But don't trip about this. The quarterback position is going to take care of itself. What we should be concerned about is if we have the volume. We need numbers. We need a lot. And I think we're going to get a lot. You signed 15 true freshmen in this class coming in, headlined by Big Rich, my dude. Proud of you. Had a way to finish the season strong. Congratulations on graduating early, and I can't wait for you to get on campus. Lamar Brown and Deuce Gerald. So your trenches on the defensive side are going to be amazing. You're going to need some offensive linemen. Karius Kern just went into the portal. You don't know if Braylon Moore's coming back. Your only true starter that you should be able to say that we can roll out, the one that you're expected to roll out, shall I say, is Tyree Adams. So you're going to need about 3 to 5 O linemen on the line. You're going to have to get a veteran or two defensive tackles to add depth because you lost Ahmad Bro. You're going to need a safety because AJ Halsey is gone, and I wish we could have him and Mansour Delane for just one more season. But we're good at corner. I mean, you can add a depth piece if you want, but you're going to need running backs. 2 running backs, too. So we're talking about 3 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, that's 5. 3 to 5 O linemen, that's 10. That's 8 to 10 players on the offense right there. And then we said, 1 D lineman, maybe an edge rusher, 1 to 2, at least 2 safeties, that's 4. So we're at 12. So you're going to need to bring in about 13 to 15 players within the portal. But I'm not worried about it. Because you got the right person at the right time. No lie, if we're sitting in this situation with Brian Kelly still as coach, I would be very concerned. It would be absolutely terrifying. But we don't have that problem to worry about. We got Lane Kiffin. And we all need to be on board with it. boosters, the buzz around Baton Rouge is apparently going through the roof. The support, the commitment is there. So we got to trust it. We got to trust it. We got to trust Lane. Excuse me there. So don't be dismayed by the amount of volume. And also, don't be turned off by the fact that there will be a lot more names to come to jump into the portal from off this roster. It's just the world of college football at this point. The players that we recruit and invest and get emotionally attached to because of the names and the star ratings and rankings are only here but for a fleeting time. You can't get too attached. The portal giveth and the portal taketh away. I used to hear T Bob say that a lot on off the bench. And it's true. It's just a part of the game now. So don't be surprised at who you may hear next pop into that portal. And it may upset you. You just gotta be prepared for it. It just is what it is at this point. And I know there are a lot of people out there who may be concerned with how we're going to recruit, what's our connections in New Orleans, which leads me to the next point. The next topic for this evening is Frank Wilson. Yes, Frank Wilson is no longer going to serve in his role as a running back coach and recruiting coordinator at LSU. And it sucks. And at the same time of it sucking, it's still fine. Pause. It's okay. Frank Wilson helped orchestrate one of the greatest rosters in LSU history that resulted in the team running into a national championship in 2011, in the 2011 season, but losing and falling short to Alabama, who shouldn't have been in that game, but thanks to the BCS they were. So here we are. They lost. But that's the only roster Frank Wilson constructed that was able to make it to that type of a run. Every other national championship team that we had, Frank Wilson was not a part of the coaching staff or the recruiting staff. And then when you look at the production of the running backs the last 10 to 15 years, it's been kind of off. It's been kind of low. And part of that is on him, but it's not all on him. Offensive schemes, O linemen, run blocks, run pits, all that has to play a part into that. So it's not just him. Running back rotations, I know a lot of people want to give Frank hell for that, but that's not on him 100% either. The offensive coordinator's calling packages for certain players, and he expects those players to be in those positions to run those plays. Our offensive play calling sucked last year, regardless of who was in. So it doesn't really matter about the rotation. Hollenberry looked great, and then the second half would come, and you only saw Hollenberry for 2 plays. But guess what? The offense was still looking bad. And even Hollenberry had his issues. Two big fumbles in critical moments of games. This is what it is. My biggest indictment on the Frank Wilson situation is this: in the class of 2026, when you only have three three true scholarship running backs on the roster, we had Jawan Johnson, who's an all-world athlete, playing in a running back. So you kind of had three in a possible. We didn't recruit one. We didn't sign a freshman incoming running back into this class. That's his primary position. And I know there are people out there who like to say that Frank Wilson has the connections to New Orleans and it's going to be tapped out. Let me tell you something. There are a lot of players in New Orleans that get past LSU because of how Frank Wilson likes to recruit. Easton Royal is committed to the University of Texas as we speak. It's a wide receiver that plays at McDonough 35. His nickname is Fat. He was committed to LSU and then flipped to SMU. He's an elite receiver. Cornerbacks from Edna Carr committed to Colorado and Texas. LSU doesn't get every great player out of New Orleans. We got the same amount before. We're going to get the same amount after. And this is not an indictment as to saying, oh, we need to run Frank out of here. Let me tell you something. If Frank Wilson would have been able to stay on his staff, I'd have been fine with that too. But like I said in the first part of this, you got to trust the man in charge. Lane Kiffin is getting paid $91 million to run this team how he sees fit. So we have to fall in line and trust it. Got to get out the way. And any coaches that he may not want, they're going to have to go. The ones that he does, they will have the opportunity to stay. He's an offensive coach. He's going to have the vision for how he wants his offense ran. So trust it. And of course, the word on the street that's bubbling is that Kevin Smith is coming from Ole Miss. And if Kevin Smith comes, 9 times out of 10, Kejuan Lacey's coming. Kejuan Lacey is a 1,000-yard rusher in the SEC. We haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher at LSU in a decade. In 10 years. Now, granted, that's not all on Frank Wilson, but Frank Wilson has been at this school now for 4 seasons. There was times before that when he wasn't here, and we still didn't accomplish it. I'm saying over a decade. It's been since 2019, and almost a decade. Because I believe the last running back to do it was Clyde. The 2019 team was just ridiculous. Yeah, 4,000-yard passer, two 1,000-yard receivers, and a 1,000-yard rusher. Just crazy. So whether we keep Frank Wilson or not, and I'm sorry for all the background noise that y'all may be hearing tonight, whether we keep Frank Wilson or not, which we're not, LSU is still going to be LSU. Will we take a hit in recruiting? Maybe. But I think the recruiting aspect of everything is different now. I don't think, and this is just my opinion, excuse me, but I don't think that the days of recruiting 35 high school players are going to keep happening. I think those are going to start winding down. And the reason why is because these head coaching jobs are very expensive. They cost, so the expectations are rising. So as a coach, am I going to go with a 3-star player, true freshman out of high school that needs time to develop? Or am I going to go get the guy that was playing at Syracuse for 2 years, pull him into the SEC, and I know that he can do the job? I'm going to go get that third team all ACC player and bring them to the SEC, put the resources that I have behind them, develop them, train them, teach them the technique that they need, and make them into a consensus All-American. I'm talking about Mansour Delane. And that's why it's so important that LSU has Lane Kiffin right now. Because the Portal King is just that. But the brand of LSU is the most important thing. It will always be. Because the brand of LSU is more than just football. It's more than just basketball. It's more than just baseball. It's an everything school. LSU has produced Olympians. It's on the cutting edge of agriculture in the state. They have impact players in the 3 major sports. 2 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. Multiple Hall of Famers in basketball. And don't talk about the influence of the female athletes from gymnastics down to the court. That brand literally rings from New York to LA. That purple and gold and those 3 letters will always carry weight. LSU is just different because it is different. And there's not too many schools like that. And it's not something that can be truly explained in words. And if you've never been to LSU, you don't understand it. You can't fully appreciate it. But to those who have been there, who are listening to me and have been there, you can relate. So you take that brand and you partner it with the brand of Lane Kiffin, and oh my God, that sounds amazing. That's amazing. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the show tonight because my house is just lively at 10:30 at night. But the goal is gonna be to catch these shows live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 9:15 p.m. And we're gonna have some fun. Start producing some clips out of these things. Jump into the chat. Don't be afraid to chat. Drop some comments, and also don't forget to like, comment, share. But most importantly, subscribe. It is free to subscribe to the channel. And I want to do my best to keep this free. I have thoughts and I want to share them, but most importantly, I want to build a community. I want to talk to y'all. I want to hear the feedback, engage, reach out. Let's have fun. Let's do this thing together. It's definitely been a blast. And it's time to play the theme song, and I'll see y'all on Friday.